Welcome everyone to this meeting of Clackamas County Budget Committee on February 10th, 2026. We're going to start out with County Administrator Schmidt. Would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I will call the roll for both all members of the Budget Committee, starting with the public members. Mr. Karn. Here. Mr. Rhodes.
Present.
The elected officials of the Budget Committee online, Commissioner Savas.
Present.
In the room, Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Chair Roberts.
Here. All right, thank you, Gary. What's first up?
Thank you. So you do have a quorum present. Commissioner West is on his way. Public member Ms. Rader is on her way. I have not heard about Mr. Cernak. Budget team, have you heard from Mr. Cernak? Is he attending?
I believe Mr. Cernak is in Hawaii.
Oh, so he is not attending?
I'm sorry. I believe he did say he intended to attempt to connect via Zoom.
Yeah.
While he's in the ocean. That's great.
I reminded him of the time difference.
Okay,
and
If we see him, we'll let you know. And then, as you know, Ms. Lee has resigned from the Budget Committee due to time commitments, and she wants to thank you all and all of you for allowing her to serve, and we thank her for her incredible service. And we're doing a recruitment right now to fill her vacancy before May, when you meet again as a Budget Committee.
On that note, Gary, would it be possible to draft a thank you letter for her service? And
Yes.
perhaps all of my colleagues, we could sign it?
I sent her one personally, thanking her.
Yeah.
I didn't get to know her well, but yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Absolutely.
Thank
We'll
you.
do that for you. Thank you. All right. So I'll walk through the agenda and then turn it back to you, Chair, to run the discussion points. The first item today is approval of the Budget Committee meeting minutes from your last meeting on December 9th, 2025. There were draft minutes in your packet. If you would either give corrections, or if not, would someone please make a motion to approve the minutes from December 9th?
So moved.
I'll second.
Right. Commissioner Helm has moved to approve the Budget Committee minutes for December 9th, 2025 as presented, and has been seconded by Jamie Karn. And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, would you please call the poll for us?
Mr. Rhodes.
Aye.
Mr. Karn.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. And Gary next.
Thank you. Next is notification of upcoming Budget Committee term completion. And there are two positions available. Sandra or Elizabeth, would you please? Sandra, please present.
Good afternoon, Budget Chair and committee members. Sorry, this is kind of loud for me. We have two members that are, whose terms are expiring come June 26th, and that's Wendy Rader and Kenny Cernak. And so I don't know that either is with us this afternoon. Virtually, I know they're not here in person, but we were hoping to have that discussion about whether they wanted to renew their term or if we were going to need to seek external candidates. I know we are already going to be seeking external candidates for Jan Lee, so it's not an issue to add additional candidates to the pool, but we were going to ask that.
All right. Commissioner West.
Do we know what, am I on? I'm on. Do we know whether or not the two current board members that are coming to the end of their term, are they eligible to run again or to be appointed?
They are eligible.
Have they expressed a desire? Do we know?
No, they have not, but this was going to be the communication to share that we did not do any outside communication.
Is it customary to, if you have two incumbents, to go out for more applicants? Then
That is entirely up to you, commissioners. In the past, you have not. If incumbents wanted to continue, you let them
Thank you.
continue.
Yeah.
Or you may choose to open a recruitment anyway. May I suggest we wait and let us communicate directly with Mr. Cernak and Ms. Rader and ask them exactly what they intend, and we'll report back to you. How's that?
if they choose to continue to serve, they've been exceptional. And it would be very easy for them to have continuity on this board if they'd like to or choose to continue. And I wouldn't want to open up recruitment beyond that unless they choose not to continue.
Sounds like a consensus. Is that all right with you?
Yes, but I think that putting it out there for all applicants, no matter how many positions we might have open, I think is a good idea. So I sometimes think we close it off to people who are new, fresh eyes, and they have done a great job, no doubt about that. But I just, sometimes people want to see somebody new in these roles.
You can do it any way you wish. So you are having an open recruitment for Ms. Lee's position. So you have a chance there to collect new faces. And then if we could ask, let's ask Mr. Cernak, Ms. Radar, and report back to you, and you can decide then.
All right. I think you have your direction there, Gary.
We do,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. All right, next is review of fiscal year 25-26, July through December, revenue and expenses. Sandra, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much for attending this afternoon. And we have before you an attachment B that begins on page 6, the second quarter budget to actual. And we've done a couple of changes that I just want to call out in response to your comments and your feedback during the last meeting. So the first is for 24-25, we gave you a comparable, so July through December of fiscal year 24-25, and then we also gave you a column for the fiscal year end of actual, so you could see how they were in relation. And then in the far right, the last 4 columns, we gave you the budget for 25-26, July through December actual, so that's 6 months. We gave you a variance column, so no math needing to be done this time around. And then we gave you a percentage column that just tells you what percentage of the fiscal year has been either received in revenue or spent on the expense side. And really, the comparable that we're calling out is 50%. Some of those vary by account code or category, but overall, 50% is where that target should be. And so on the revenue side, if a category is over 50%, it's in good shape at this time of the year. If it's below 50%, that's something that we're going to need to monitor. And so the departments that are reviewing their budgets should already be tracking those things. And on the expense side, over 50%, again, would be a caution that they have to monitor and possibly start cutting back on their expenses. Or if they're under, they should be in good shape so long as the revenue has come in as anticipated. So we always tell departments, look at both sides. You can't just look at one revenue category in a vacuum or the expense side in a vacuum. It really is the combination of those things and monitoring that bottom line. So right at this point, oh, and we also gave you a graph at the very bottom, and I think that was at the request of this budget committee. And for the general fund, you're going to see a peak in November. That's due to property tax revenue coming in. And the other change that we made, let me back up, I'm sorry, beginning fund balance. Right now, it is not posted in the system. We have applied it here for your benefit so that the math is calculates correctly. So if the next quarter, if there's any adjustments, please know it's because of those little shifts between a department or a program, and it's because we have arbitrarily populated that number in there. That's one item. The second is general fund support. We've made a change to the way that we distribute general fund support. Normally, we've done it as a percentage of the expenses. So actual expenses divided by budget is how we've distributed general fund support. But in order to share with you and have the numbers be relative, what we've done is we're going to just give it by quarter. So quarter 1, we'll give 25%. Quarter 2, we'll give 50%. Quarter 3, 75%. And then at year end, we'll do a true up. So if there's any savings, we will capture it at the year end. Please note that we'll make it difficult, though, for us to anticipate if a department's going over, it really is going to be incumbent on the department to do their monitoring and raise the flag to Gary or to their department head, and then to Gary, because from the distribution side, we won't know it. But I think that that will make these reports easier for you to review and get a sense of where the departments are at. Yeah, and Cindy says, yes, it's easier for the departments. So I'm going to pause and just see if you have any questions. Really, at this point in time, and again, this is December 31st, which, I mean, we know it's 1.5 months ago, but for our books, December 31st actually doesn't close until this week. So there is still minor shifts that are happening, but it's mainly in things like interest earnings or accounts receivable adjustments. For the most part, the department changes, the transactions that are posted are done for December 31st. So what you see really should be a true snapshot of what is in the system.
All right, any questions?
Oh, and I'm sorry, if I could call out one more thing. Commissioner Savas had asked that we share the FTE counts, and those are at the very bottom of the table. And we've given you the budget numbers, the total filled, and the total vacant. Again, as of, this was as of 1/1, we take the snapshot of personnel at the first day of each month. So for this 12/31 report, you have it as of 1/1.
You should also comment about the personnel, why it's like the first 6 months, so they don't expect it.
It's a very
We did.
great format.
Yeah, and if there's any you want me to go through, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, we'll let you peruse.
And that's all departments, including CCSO?
Correct. And for CCSO, we gave it to you 4 different ways. We did CCSO all funds, CCSO Fund 100, so that's general fund. And Andrew, starting on page 10. So page 10 has CCSO all funds. Page 11 has CCSO general fund. Page 12 has Fund 216, which is ELED. And page 13 has Fund 206, which is the levy. And I should call out in personnel, what we should be seeing roughly at this time of the year is 43 to 44%. So 43.5 is what we should be seeing in personnel. And the reason for it is because in July, we accrue most of the July expenses back into June of the prior fiscal year. So that's an anomaly.
Chair, Commissioner Savas has his hand raised.
Commissioner Savas, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for the materials you put together. And I listened as best I could to your comments regarding what's reflected as far as the actuals. And, you know, you said that there be small things like interest or whatnot. But my question is, is there any departments that are lagging, or is everyone relatively posting on time?
Unfortunately, Commissioner Savas, we don't know that information. That really is for the departments to answer. So for example, if they have transactions that are on someone's desk, but they haven't processed them through the system, we in finance wouldn't know that they are unprocessed until we get the information. Right, because from that perspective, we're decentralized. So each department has their own, budget team or their own finance team. And so those tasks are with the departments.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you for that. I guess I'll just, thanks for answering the question. I just want to renew that the exercise that we're doing right now, if there is a lot of lag, and I don't know, and you don't know because you haven't seen everything. It kind of almost really compromises this exercise altogether. So I'm wondering if there is a way to, so what months are closed out for fiscal year 25, 26? What quarters or months are, I imagine you closed out September, for example, right?
Correct.
Okay. So the only month that is not closed out yet is December?
Correct.
Okay, and November is closed out?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to, again, just kind of comment and recognize, if we were to do this a month from now, knowing that when it's closed out, that might bring a lot more value to the work we're doing here today. Does that make sense?
Yes, and unfortunately, there are times where we in finance have seen transactions that get processed months in arrears. So I don't know that 1 month will necessarily do it. Certainly by year end, we know it because that's when we see transactions that should have been posted, or we get the departments requesting that things be posted back to the correct year. And then at that time is when we actually have a documentation process that they have to call out why they're delayed.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you, Sandra, for that. Appreciate it. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, go ahead and proceed.
All right, thank you. Next is a review of the general fund forecast with assumptions as of December 31st, 2025. Sandra and Elizabeth, go ahead, please.
Okay. So before you is the forecast as of February 4th. This morning, there was some changes, and that, I believe that's what you have, this one-page sheet on your desk. The items, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 4 items are reflected in this forecast. The 7,000 for the Malala pilot payment and the additional 4 million for CCSO are not reflected in this forecast. So I apologize because I feel like we're starting this meeting already with this document outdated, but what we would call out is we have in year 1, which is 25-26 that we're in, we're still balanced, and we anticipate being balanced for 26-27. Again, this is not with the additional funding that, or expenses that were called out this morning. So we'll populate that and see what these do to the numbers. What I can say is because it's an ongoing expense, what I anticipate is that we're going to go in the negative probably about year 8. Just from all the playing that we've done in this forecast, I would anticipate that additional 4 million is going to throw us in the negative beginning year 8, and we probably won't pull out of that negative until about year 28. Again, haven't done any of that, but just from our experience, that's the highlight.
So can you please just, so don't consider what happened today.
Okay.
You turned this in last Thursday. As of last Thursday, give the update of the forecast then, please. The
Okay.
forecast changes every hour, commissioners. As of last Thursday, please give the update of how the forecast looks.
Okay, so we updated everything for all the supplementals that have come before the board already. So those are things like CCSO had an additional grant of $473,000. That revenue and the expenses that went along with that were populated in the forecast. The $100,000 for the SNAP program that was given to disaster management, that revenue and that expense is now in here. Additionally, PGA received some PEG revenue, an additional $128,000. That revenue and that expense is now in here as well. And We also did some recognition of additional revenue that was not previously in this forecast of 1.4 million. So this forecast actually looks a little better than what you saw last time because of some recognition of revenue, just some tightening up that we did in the 25-26 fiscal year.
All right, Commissioner Savas had a question. Did you want to go ahead?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add to what Sandra's talking about. So we do the update to our forecast at intervals. And so right now, we're in the middle of the department's budgeting. They're doing all their projections and then their budget requests. So typically, we would not have an updated forecast again until after all the departments have submitted their year-end projections and then their proposed budgets. So just to let you know, it is a living document, but we do need to wait for specific intervals to do the updates.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Savas, you had a question?
Yeah, I just responding to the last segment of this presentation that Sandra just presented. I'm really concerned. I certainly know that $991,000. How what drove that into the red. But I wasn't part of this morning's discussion. I apologize. I had a medical issue I had to deal with. But we can't go this. We can't sustain this, right? It's if we backfill it, we're gonna have to find the money. So I just want to alert my colleagues have heard this from me, but I want to alert the budget committee members that as we're still grinding through the numbers, we're not done yet, but it appears that the levy under collected and therefore the general fund subsidized not just the levy, but the general fund also subsidized the city contracts. And we already know we're subsidizing ELED, and we can't really correct that per se. So the question I think really begs what really begs the question is on some of these long-standing unfilled positions, do we just at what point, if they're not going to be filled, don't actually put them in the budget any longer? I'm just kind of wondering how we can get a better make an adjustment to address this. Now, one idea I do have is that if the levy under collected, and let's just say at this point, it's roughly, and with my rough math, it's, over the 5 years of the levy, it's under collected probably close to 20 million, maybe more. So I'm wondering if maybe if the levy passes, maybe some of those funds could pay back the general fund. The new levy funds, knowing that we're not going to be able to implement everything right out of the gate, but the general fund can't support this. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be. I'm just concerned that we don't have a mechanism to address that. Now I know what the motion was this morning. It was basically if up to 4 million if needed. I got clarification on, but. If I'm trying to figure out these actuals and the actuals show me something a little bit different, I don't know why we would be obligating another $4 million. Chair, I yield.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner West.
Just to have a conversation with Commissioner Savas here too. A significant amount of work, as you know, has been done over the last, I would say, 3 years. A lot has happened, long deliberations, lots of work by this committee, lots of additional movement by the sheriff's office trying to get there, trying to figure this out. And out of good faith for that work being done and trust in that, as difficult as it was, and I think your questions are valid, that's how I came to support the additional up to $4 million. Hopefully, as we continue to right this ship, that won't have to happen again, and we'll get to where we stabilize this. But I think that was the reasoning, or at least, not that we don't have the same concerns or we're not concerned, and cautiously approved that additional amount, I think is where we're coming from. I don't know if, I keep, for 3 years, I keep seeing it bounce back and forth, and it's a little exhausting. And then it seems that we never quite get there to where we're seeing the numbers as they should be presented. 3 years is a long time. And I know we've made progress. So I think that's where the board was, but I don't know if it's going to take another 3 years to get where you want, Commissioner. I'm trying to, I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't disagree with you, but I think that's why we came to the decision we came to.
Well, yeah, well, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner West. Mind you, I have, if indeed it appears to be pretty accurate that the general fund subsidized the levy, and there's I don't know what the closeout was or what the beginning fund balance was, but if it's at least 4 million, that's your 4 million right there. You don't need to tap the general fund, the county general fund.
Commissioner, I asked that question earlier today before the vote. I'm not quite sure what to believe, but if the levy was right-sided, if it would take that pressure off the general fund, yes, I was told some, and I was told not enough. I mean, I don't know where to, I'm trying to make good policy here with my colleagues and with the members of this committee, but my God, I don't, sometimes it feels like I don't know what's up, know what's down.
Yeah, I think just a comment, thinking about one of the points Commissioner Savas made is, could we retro back? That's a county council question, but I don't believe so, because as you go forward, every dollar is aligned to a deputy that is funded. So I highly doubt, but it's definitely a county council decision. I think that following up with kind of Commissioner West's concern, there has been a lot of progress made. There's still a lot of work to do, sharpening our pencil, and really, I'm optimistic. I feel like we've made a lot of progress in 1 year, and I'm hoping that this is going to be another difficult year. There's no two ways about it, but I really think where we want to get is knowing that this is what it is going to take, right? To sustain current services, right, with a COLA, cost of living increase, so that we can kind of better project, because I think, and I think it also is real important for us when we go to negotiate the contract, right, that's also kind of calculated in, because if you negotiate, and that's a conversation Gary and I have had, is if there's a contract negotiated mid-term of a levy, that the increase sometimes is not adequate. So I think that's where the projection is also, is like, hey, at a 3 to 5% increase, and we can project for that, but if it goes above that, that can create a shortfall. So yeah, once again, I think that we all have some tough decisions to make. I think it's really important to have this open discussion and really kind of look at where the dollars are being spent, because it's not going to be easy.
Can I get clarification to one of your questions, Chair? Because if we give them up to this $4 million and then we start to feel like that pressure can be relieved, why would that revenue somehow not be credited back to the general fund if it's more than what they need? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's,
I do feel like that if they don't need it, it should be given back to the general fund. It shouldn't be a shopping spree, or it shouldn't be extra anything. It should be realized we are in good faith trying to have a stopgap right now to continue this conversation. And I still have immense questions, and begrudgingly, not because I don't love law enforcement, because I still don't have the other half of the equation answered, agreed to this, and I have some heartburn about it. And some real trepidation, like I can feel this in my viscerally right now, but I'm really trying to be a team player here in making sure law enforcement is supported and not play chicken with law enforcement. And we've never cut an FTE in 6 years. I don't want it to happen today, and I don't want it to happen in this budget cycle. So it's hard. And so that question is, what do you mean we can't right-size it and bring that money back to the general fund? That would concern me. And then I guess I hope that the sheriff would continue to not see this as like a new bonus of money, but somehow would do everything within her power to not spend or spend very little of it as possible and then return it back so that we don't have to cut veteran services or homeless services or other essential things that we do or senior services. Those are all things that are important, or to have the DA to take less because he seems to always take less. Like those, that doesn't seem equitable. And so I hope that, I do believe that she's trying to work in good faith. So I'm not making an accusation, but if there is money you don't need in that general fund and you know where we're at and how we're trying to work with you, I hope to God she works with us and that money's returned.
Great. Commissioner Helm.
Well, I think that one of the things that Commissioner Savas was pointing out was like, if there's been these vacant positions that are part of the budget and they
Right.
haven't been filled, if we eliminate those, take those out of the budget, does it help to right-size the
Yeah.
budget, right? So I think that should be looked at. If they have been ongoing vacancies, and I think Sheriff Brandenburg talked about that this morning too, about that she's not going to fill those. But as long as they still show on the budget as vacant positions, they are still part of the budget, correct? Those dollars are accounted for in there, whether they're filled or not.
Wait.
Correct. I think the difficulty, though, at least from when I'm seeing the numbers, we've had vacancies. So for example, if we go to page, I have to find CCSO 100, page 11, right now, the personnel is at 44%. That's where it should be if it was fully budgeted, or I'm sorry, if the FTEs were fully, were filled, because that's the way we budgeted them. So we've got this department at 44% with 56 vacancies. If they filled any of those vacancies, it would already, it's at its limit, it's at its normal limit with 56 vacancies. So if they start filling those 56 vacancies, it will go over in
Right.
personnel.
I'm confused.
So positions are funded, and it's up to the department on whether or not they're filled. I mean, obviously, you would assume they'd be filled, but even if a position's vacant, that money for that position is still in the department's budget.
So why would we not hire if we have budgeted the money to hire these individuals? Are we not taking the actual cost still of what an actual total cost of a deputy is or somebody for that FTE? Like, why are we told we have no money to hire when these books say we have money? I'm confused a little bit.
So for every department, you know, obviously there's turnover. You're always going to have a certain vacancy factor. I mean, you're never going to be 100% filled all the time. And so, and in some areas, it's difficult to attract. In some areas, there's a long training period. There's lots of different reasons.
But 56?
So I think the challenge, and I guess if I could, in terms of the term subsidy, I think that we're kind of a little confused. We know that ELED has been subsidized. We all know that. Sheriff's Office, we all agree that has been subsidized. Okay. The levy, I think, where we get confused about it being subsidized, what's happened is there are positions they're the exact same position in the levy and Fund 100, and the Sheriff's Office will choose where to fund that position out of. And that's where, and I'm not questioning the judgment, I'm just saying that, so that's what'll happen is you'll see, because there are a number of vacancies right now in the levy. There's like 9 or 14 positions in the levy, so on top of these positions. And so the question becomes, we know you have positions in the levy, you have money in the levy, why are you using the general fund to fill those positions? And that's the conversation we had at the end of the Budget Committee meeting in last May.
Right.
And I think the Budget Committee said you need to use some of the levy money to fill some of the gap in the general fund. So there's a fine line between the two, and it is confusing, by the way. Just, if you're confused about it, that's a good thing, that means you're aware enough. But there's lots of choices that have to be made, and I think the question is, maybe not the word subsidy, but why aren't you using the levy to pay these costs? why are you using general fund to pay these costs? That's the conversation. And so when you're using general funds to pay for a cost that could be funded by the levy, why isn't that happening?
But the levy's also underfunded. It was never, the actual like
levy was-
need for it was never, it was broken from the beginning. The money was never actually there to actually meet the need for 5 years.
When the levy was developed, when the budget for the levy was developed, which none of us were here, but it did not fund all the 92 positions, and it also did not have the indirect charges that were added. So there were some things that happened. They were funded in the levy, but they were not a part of the budget
Right.
development. So yes, that.
Right, you pull out
it
allocated
was short.
cost,
It
you
was
pull out
short.
some of these other things, it's still underfunded. The voters were overpromised and underdelivered for 5 years, and the general fund has also had to support the levy. That's the fact. And so now I'm being told, I mean, this is just like Groundhog Day, I'm gonna go mad. I'm gonna go crazy. Like, I feel like, we can't do this for another 12 hours. I'm being told we have these funded positions. I talked to the CCPOA. They would love to have more deputies hired so they can do this work that's important. They're funded here in the books, but we are like being told, you know, that it's, the sky is falling with the sheriff's budget and we can't hire these people, so they just kind of float there and stay on our books. So I still don't understand how there's money there not being used. That doesn't make a lot of sense when she says she can't hire one more person and we're about to lay off. But we have all these open positions that are supposedly funded. Am I misunderstanding something?
You are.
That will help me, please.
They're not filled. The money
Correct.
hasn't been spent, and she's still over budget.
Very correct.
So
Okay,
if she
okay.
fills them, she's going to be way
more
over budget.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a kind of a simple math problem.
Right, but if we
they're
retract those positions, she's still gonna, it's still the same issue, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it would get us more in line because those positions are part of the budget.
Are they needed, though? Like, are these things that are like vitally needed, like from a workforce standpoint?
That is the million-dollar question, Commissioner, is if she's been living without him and she's still over budget, can she live without him? Can we live without him? Can our citizens live without him? That's what we're grappling with, is
That's
we're
how
trying
I
to get
hear
the
from-
budget in line, but we haven't filled these positions for a long, long time.
But what I hear from the CCPOA and from patrol and those deputies is that they desperately want to see some of those positions
Right,
funded.
right.
And I'm concerned because I believe them. And, yeah, I don't know, James's card's been up forever and I'm clearly annoyed,
Oh,
but.
sorry.
Yeah.
I had Paul and then you, James. Okay, so Commissioner Savas, go ahead.
Oh, what, was there a card up from someone else before I go?
Yeah, I think you're notified that you were next in line, so go ahead.
Okay. So that last slide that was up on the screen that showed the beginning fund balance for the levy at 7.3 million, right? So, I mean, there's your 4 million. I mean, scroll up a little bit. Okay, there it is. So for top line, beginning fund balance. So you started out 25, 26. You have 7.3 million. The levy under collected, meaning that, again, getting back to that, it's a little bit of everything. Yes, I think there is absolutely, especially on vehicles and everything else I'm finding where it wasn't correctly calculated into the costing of in the budgeting within the levy. So again, general fund subsidized that, and the amount for vehicles and all those things was not the right number. It was it was too low. So getting back to this other, if you take that 7.3 million, subtract 4 million as your cushion, you're covered. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna take a strong guess here. A strong guess that 7.3 million really belongs in the general fund because it wasn't. It's the levy's not carrying its weight.
Excuse me, if I could make a correction, the 7.3 million is the budget. The actual beginning fund balance is in the July through December actuals of 4.86 million.
So it's behind.
So it's short from its budget by 2.5. So what would be available The way that I would do it would be, I'd say 4.8 million, that's your starting number. And then I would look to see what they have in contingency. You're going to subtract that variance, that shortage of 2.5 million at the top. It's the difference there that would truly be available. So you're talking 1.6 million would be available, and that would wipe out the levy, which would be a problem because you don't collect revenue, property tax revenue, until November. So you actually need to leave some money in the levy to carry you forward for those first few months. Otherwise, the general fund will continue to have to subsidize.
Thank you. James Rhodes?
Thank you. Not talking about the levy, but talking about positions, vacant positions of what is and isn't budgeted. So like on attachment B, if you look at page 11, my understanding, and so for clarification, is if you look under the budget column, that's the third column over at the bottom, total positions 479, filled 425, vacant 54. So when we, and I'm asking for clarification, I guess, from the budget, but when you all build the budget, it's built on actuals. And as Cindy indicated, there is always a vacancy rate. So and for the sheriff's office, that recently seems to be around about 54. So when that personnel line is budgeted at about $88.7 million, that is really to support 425 positions. That budgeted number is not for the 479. Okay. So that when we say that, when ultimately there's 56 positions and we say that that was budgeted for, that's not exactly true. Really what was budgeted for was 425 positions, give or take, with 50 vacancies, essentially unfunded by the budget. Those weren't there. So when the sheriff approaches, if you go to the far right, 44% and the target is 50%. If she made it to 50%, that's going to be around 425 positions with 54 vacancies, right? So to be on budget means that she has to maintain 50-something, vacant positions. So I just want to clarify that when we say those positions are funded by the budget, they're not really funded by the
They're
budget.
just
Good point.
there.
James.
Okay, yeah, and it may just be semantics, but am I roughly on track?
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. When we build the budget, we budget for all of the positions that have been approved. And then we ask the departments to review their reports and make adjustments for vacancies. And they enter, or they, we call it the vacancy factor. They tell us how many months they think the position will be vacant. And so, and then we will make adjustments in the reports so that it reduces the budget for that position based on their vacancy factor. I believe initially when we did the 25-26 budget, I believe that CCSO entered 1 month of a vacancy factor, meaning they funded all of these vacant positions for 11 months. I believe that was the original. And then, if you all remember, during the Budget Committee meetings, there was a reduction that was directed to CCSO. I believe, and I'm going to go just off of memory, that it was like 3.8 million that CCSO was directed to make. Those reductions were made all in personnel. So I guess yes and no. It's, we didn't go back to see a vacancy factor. It was just, they just told us what line items to reduce. It was all in personnel.
So essentially, vacancy factor, 1 month out of 12 for all positions. I mean, you could equate that to a number of 50-something positions, but in essence, the sheriff's office said they anticipate having those vacant.
Correct.
Right, and then had to reduce it more. Right. So the budget is not for, I mean, really, they're not given money for all 12 months of all positions, right? Because there's this vacancy factor, right? And so it can be represented, in my mind, as 1 month of all positions or a number of positions for 12 months. But it's a number, it's a value. There's money, right? And so,
And I have the answer. So the vacancies were shown as 1 month filled, 11 months vacant. That's how they captured the savings of 3.8 million that was directed by this committee. So this committee said, go for it, cut 3.8 million. They cut 3.8 million from personnel by showing the vacancies as vacant for 11 months out of the year.
Just quickly, I want to clarify, if you remember, again, we're reliving fun times, but the proposed budget had the sheriff's office, I think it was, had an increase of 11%, and that, this committee said, no, you got to reduce it to the 4% increase, not 11%, because everybody got a 4% increase. And that's where the 3.8 million came from, because the sheriff's office had to say, okay, how do I get from the 11% to the 4%? It was about 3.8 million, and it was taken out of personnel at the time because we were kind of at the gun, no pun intended, but time-wise, we just had to make this happen because we're at the end of the year. So they took it out of personnel to balance to the 4%. That make sense?
so simply my point is just that when we say it's fully funded, that's less accurate, right? It's not fully funded. And we can say it's not fully funded because the sheriff's office is reducing personnel to make the budget, or because we work in an FTE vacancy factor. But in any case, that's where, to balance the budget, that's where those numbers come from. So it's just, I just want to, it may not be pertinent to it's certainly not pertinent to the levy discussion, but the reality is that those 56 positions or so, they're not funded in the budget, right? I mean, we could get there if they hired those people, they would reapproach and we could figure that out. But as the budget stands, they're not funded.
And if I could just add one more, because staff is feeding me information, 26 positions were reduced down to 1 month. So 54 vacant, 26 of those were reduced down to 1 month.
That's all, thank you.
All right, thank you, James. Commissioner Savas.
Oh, the only thing I really want to add to this, I know that we talked about, and to build on James' point, going a little bit, a step farther. You know, we talked last year about what we're going to do with the budget. Are we going to take over the budget, or, you know, what we can do? And one of the things I want to throw out there is that if we line itemed every position, for example, that's a lot of lines, or line item certain types of positions or in batches, then I think we can actually have a clearer picture of what we're funding. So if we line item every position, including the unfilled, to Mr. Rhodes' point, we need a heck of a lot more money, right? So my earlier comments were not so much about general or Fund 100 as they were about the levy and the positions stated in the levy that we're going to hire and fill and people are going to pay for. And when you look at that, that's where you see there's a gross under collection to pay for those positions. And so there is a promise in that levy to deliver, whereas the general fund, there's really not a promise, right? But that's where I have my little bit of heartburn, is that I want to make sure that we tell the voters we're going to fill X positions, and they're paying for it, and then we leave them unfilled. That's problematic. And it's also problematic when you don't have enough money to fill the positions in the levy, but yet you promised it. So I'll stop there.
All right. Gary?
Okay, so Mr. Cernak has joined you online. Thank you, Mr. Kenny, for being here today, although we're at the end of our meeting. So that is the formal agenda. If I may share, your next meeting of this committee will be in 2 months, April 14th, 2026, and your primary topic is to discuss the report from the Compensation Board for elected officials. And then May 26th through 29th, 2026 is the Budget Committee Week that you've already been notified about. Is there any other questions or comments the committee would like to make before we conclude?
All right, let's see. Oh, Commissioner West, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Does this committee have does it need to give input on the CCSO work group? And can we have a refresher of what that looks like? I do think that work group will be very valuable in helping illuminate some of this further, and making sure we're on the same terms and same definitions and some of the same playbook so that we can be more productive as we go into budget cycle. I don't know if you could speak to that, Gary.
Yes, thank you. So the board commissioners, you agreed to form a Sheriff's Office Finance Work Group that will have a totally separate function from the Budget Committee. So the work does not overlap. The work group is to answer questions, clarify issues, clarify any misunderstandings, and to create better goodwill and communication between all involved. There are 2 seats for public budget members, of which 4 of you have expressed interest. So I'm going to bring that to you next week at Issues to decide which of the 2 public members you'd like to appoint. And I also have the other membership names for you next week for you to make a decision. But the functions of that group and the Budget Committee are totally separate and not really intertwined.
Thank you for clarifying.
All right. So anything else before we move on, Gary?
There's nothing else on this agenda for this meeting.
All right, so before this group moves on, I just want to thank our Budget Committee members and everybody for joining us today. And we're going to take a short 5-minute break, and we'll be right back. So we'll take a short recess.